You didn't tell me that Seth was hitting you.
You would have said it was my fault.
I might have said that. Oh, Michaela, there is so much that I'm feeling right now. There's so much that I want to say, but I don't know how.
Welcome to Community Voices, Purple Light Nights edition. Throughout the show, we will use creative writing to center our thoughts on healing, while we focus on the crippling problem of domestic violence. Our goal is to empower survivors and inspire positive action to those in need. Today, we have a lineup packed with information. Our next segments are dedicated to sharing Prince George's County resources, detail from our college advocates, then we'll speak about the dangerous rise of cyber abuse with subject matter expert Dr. Mikiba Morehead. And finally, we hear from our resilient survivors as the county and the college continue our support of the Purple Light Nights initiative for domestic violence awareness. I am Lieutenant Barbara Smith of the PGCC Campus Police, and I'm very happy to be hosting this edition of Community Voices. Let's welcome today's guest, Prince George's County Sheriff John D.B. Carr, the law enforcement expert on domestic violence for our county, and Tia Johnson, a familiar face to the college. Tia is a violence prevention resource in the county, and we have playwright and theater director Daryl Kador. Thank you each for being here. Let's get right to our discussion. Now, Sheriff, can you tell us a little bit about the initiatives that you've been taking since you've been elected in 2022? And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me here today to talk about such an important issue of domestic violence. So since I've been in office, we've actually had our first annual domestic violence conference here at Prince George's Community College.
We had a good turnout.
Yes, we did. It was wonderful to have all of our resources here in the county, from nonprofit organizations, government organizations, to all come together to talk about resources that we can give to our citizens to eradicate domestic violence throughout the community.
Now, can I ask you, why do the Sheriff's Office handle domestic violence calls as proposed to PGPD?
So we share that responsibility, but the Sheriff's Office is mandated to serve all peace and protective orders throughout Prince George's County, and in that role or function, we like to give a one-stop shop. We work with partners such as the Family Justice Center, we work with the courts, and we want to make sure that when we respond to a domestic violence and we use a legality sheet to make sure that we can assess the situation, that we're giving the time and attention to our citizens so that we can make sure that survivor of domestic violence is able to move forward and that we can actually make them whole again.
And Sheriff, we are looking forward to continuing our partnership with you and especially kicking off Purple Light Nights on September 28th. Tia, welcome back. It's nice to see you. Can you talk a little bit about your company and your resources and the things that you do within the county?
Absolutely. It's great to be back here at Prince George's Community College. I have a consulting business, Supreme Consulting LLC, where I help bridge the gaps between state and local government as well as national organizations of how we can support survivors, children, and their family, as well as the community here in Prince George's County. I also try to work with communities that are underserved, looking at the LGBTQIA+ community, as well as the African American and Black community here in the county, where we are a predominantly Black county here in Prince George's County, but we're still underserved due to not having those resources here in the county where, well, resources as where our people, our individuals are not met where they need to be met at the table.
So can you share with our audience what happens next after domestic violence when they no longer feel like they're in danger? How do they move on? What are the next steps?
Yes, so it's always having a safety plan, making sure we are able to support survivors and their family. How do we provide next steps, whether it's being jobs, whether it's being homes, housing, education, finding a means and safety for their children. Counseling is a big thing that needs to be pushed in the domestic violence as well as gender-based violence field. It is also important to talk about how we look at imminent danger within the homes as they're returning back or trying to start a new life. We're working with the Sheriff's Department with the lethality assessment protocols, which we call the LAP program or LAP protocols.
So let me just ask you one more question.
Sure.
What about the children? What's put in place to help them break that cycle of abuse as they grow older?
Yes, so one of the things is how we're providing counseling for our children, because secondary trauma is real. A lot of children might think, or teens or youth think, that it's their fault that they see either family members or parents or a guardian or their caregiver that's dealing with domestic violence. And sometimes they even deal with domestic violence. So part of it is counseling, for also making sure there's an awareness about it. We have to be proactive about prevention and intervention, where it's not just heard on from the newspaper or the news, but how are we meeting people through social media, through platforms just like this here at Prince George's Community College.
Thank you, Tia.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with you more as we continue with domestic violence awareness. Daryl, now you have a show at Crossland. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, we're excited about the opportunity to work with Prince George's County Public Schools and the county as a whole with regards to domestic violence. Everything that we do at Daryl Kidder Productions, we always look to have the greatest impact within our immediate communities. And Prince George's County is not just our home, but it's our home base. And so we were excited about the opportunity to present our stage play Hands Made Whole within our own county, because as the sheriff just touched on, there's a growing number of domestic violence cases in the county, and we have to employ a collaborative effort from every aspect of society to try to eradicate this issue. And we chose to do that from the performing arts space.
What motivated you to write the play Hands Made to Hold?
Well, at Daryl A. Kidder Production, we have a number of stage play productions that address various issues that affect our community, such as wayward children, broken homes, racial profiling, and domestic violence. And we felt that with each of these issues that we addressed, we wanted to hit them as hard as we could. And domestic violence is an issue that is wreaking havoc throughout communities across the country, and we just want to make sure that from our performing arts space, we are swinging the hammer hard and hitting domestic violence as hard as we can with regards to the performing arts.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you all for coming today and being on Community Voices for Purple Light Nights Awareness, because you guys have gave our viewers a lot of information that will help keep them safe throughout. When we return, Katrina Oshitelu talks with our college resource advocates.
Welcome back to Community Voices. I'm Katrina Oshitelu, a program coordinator with the Office of Student Success and Engagement, and your host for our College Resources segment. We shine a light on our many resources for anyone experiencing domestic violence. So today we have Professor Renee Gibbons, who is a PGCC SAGE instructor, author, and soon-to-be screenwriter. And then we're also going to meet our Title IX coordinator, Chandrika Rennell. And joining us virtually is Dr. Stephanie Pear, the program manager for Women of Wisdom, a college program designed for students who self-identify as women to enhance their academic, personal, and professional development in a holistic environment. So Dr. Pear, thanks so much for joining us virtually. Can you share information on how Women of Wisdom offer services to those on campus or in the community who are affected by domestic abuse?
Thank you, Katrina, for this opportunity. Absolutely. For those who identify as struggling through any form of emotional or physical abuse, we first assess the needs of the student and providing them with the necessary wraparound service, whether they're internal services or their external services, exploring the safety of the student, making sure their environment is safe, looking at, most importantly, what we can do to provide them with some holistic support. And then most importantly, encouraging them through the whole process. The cycle of recovery through any type of abuse is a long cycle. And we're here to support them as they navigate through this painful process. and setting necessary boundaries and assessing their environment to getting them to a better place of development.
Thank you, Dr. Pear. We are lucky to have you. I believe your level of care and concern it can facilitate the healing that's needed for our students. Now, let's find out about Title IX from Chandrika Rennell, who is also an attorney and a former social worker. So tell us about Title IX and how can a person suffering from domestic abuse benefit?
So Title IX is a federal law that prohibits discrimination and/or harassment on the basis of sex in educational programs or activities that receive federal money, meaning Prince George's Community College. So with that, Title IX is very broad, and lots of people know it in relation to sports equity, but through regulation, it also includes sexual harassment, sexual assault, the Clery crimes, retaliation, stalking, and dating violence and domestic violence. And in terms of someone who has experienced a domestic violence situation, that person under Title IX would be entitled to supportive measures. And supportive measures are individualized, free of charge, non-punitive, and non-disciplinary, and they're really meant to restore and preserve a person's access to their educational program or activity. And some examples of those are maybe a modification to your class schedule or campus escort services, or extensions and deadlines as the result of what happened in the Title IX matter. And with this, overall, the purpose of Title IX is to ensure, regardless of a person's gender or sex, whether they're a student, an employee, or applicant for either, that they have equal access to their education or employment. And with that, supportive measures is a way to bridge that gap when encountering a Title IX situation.
So Professor Gibbons, you're an author and aspiring screenwriter. We understand you're writing a movie titled Saved, focused on healing from domestic violence. So what inspired you to write this movie?
Thank you. The movie Saved was inspired by the magnitude of the issue of verbal, psychological, and emotional abuse. We know that thousands and probably millions of women and men are suffering in silence, walking on eggshells because of this covert and hidden type of abuse. A lot of times family, friends, coworkers don't even know that a person is going through it.
Yeah.
The movie Saved is about being able to walk away, have the courage to walk away from this type of abuse and rebuild your life and reclaim your power. And we know that going through this healing journey is messy, right? It's filled with a lot of twists and turns and surprise situations. And the character that plays in this movie, she's not portrayed as an angel. There's brokenness that she has to overcome, just like I had to overcome some brokenness as well. And we find that folks who get into these type of relationships are often have some issues that they need to work on. But the journey takes her through the pain and the grief and the anger and loneliness and sometimes lack of support. But the movie shows that we have resilience to get to a point where we overcome all of this and get to a place of joy, of peace, and forgiveness. Forgiveness is really important as well.
Yeah.
And so that we can be our authentic self, right? So this movie is, and as a 22-year-old married, really naive, I was in this type of relationship for 17 of the 18 years of my marriage. And of course, you ask the question, why? But now I know why. God is using this movie as a gift to give to others, to inspire them, that they can move through this process to a healing place and to be saved from verbal, emotional, and psychological abuse and save other generations as well, just like I was saved.
I get a sense of who your target audience could be, but I don't want to make an assumption, so we'd love to hear from you. Who would you say that this film is for? Who should watch this when the time comes where it becomes available?
I was on a plane and heard from a gentleman that went through it, and he had to rebuild his whole life. I've heard from women, in my group that I coach. So this film is for anyone who, and it's so widespread, it really is, anyone who just needs encouragement to move through the healing process, and anyone who is interested in understanding what verbal and emotional and psychological abuse is as a precursor to physical abuse.
Thank you so much for the services that you provide to our students, survivors, and victims in the county. Domestic violence continues to plague this county and our country. It has no borders, it does not discriminate, and survivors are changed by it for a lifetime. If you are a student, a faculty, staff person, or community member in need of help, there are many options available. PGCC's Mental Health and Wellness Center is here to help. So contact Women of Wisdom for support. There is hope for redemption and healing. Please do not hesitate to contact our Title IX office. All the show resources and contact information will be displayed at the end of the program. Coming up next, I go virtual with a cyber abuse expert, Dr. Mikiba Morehead, as Community Voices Purple Light Nights continues. Welcome back to another virtual segment to listen to one of the nation's leading subject matter experts on cyber sexual abuse. Please welcome Dr. Mikiba Morehead to Community Voices.
Hi, howdy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. You know, we wanted to learn more about this because in our higher education environment, we often hear about things like cyberbullying. So please tell us about cyber sexual abuse and demographically, who is most vulnerable to suffer a cyber sexual attack?
So, cybersexual abuse is a form of gender based abuse that's facilitated through technology. That could be through communication technology or emerging new media and technologies. Cybersexual abuse can take the form of image based abuse, of sexual extortion, of cyber stalking, and instances of technology during situations of dating violence and domestic violence. Unfortunately, individuals that have a high rate of cybersexual abuse victimization include individuals in marginalized populations, like our sex and gender minorities, our LGBTQ plus individuals, and other people of color.
So having that said, help us understand what measures can one take to, protect themselves from technology facilitated sexual abuse?
That's a hard question to answer because technology is such an integrated and integral part of our lives and experiences. So, the steps that someone can take to protect themselves from technology facilitated abuse are those that are similar to protecting our privacy in any digital environment. It could be things like having a strong password, making sure that you keep your password private and don't share it with other individuals, including those that you may trust. It includes using the privacy settings that are included in social media and other communication platforms so that you're limiting your social presence to individuals who you trust. And taking other measures to make sure that the information that you put out on the internet and through other forms of technology are pieces of information that you're comfortable sharing and maintain your privacy.
Dr. Moorhead, I have to ask, with all this good stuff that you're helping us become better aware about, where can we access your information and share with our audience how we might contact you going forward?
Yeah, so I'm a consultant with the company TNG, which is a national multidisciplinary risk management consulting firm. My information is available on our website, and I also have a pretty consistent presence on LinkedIn.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Moorhead, for taking the time. When we come back, Dr. Danielle LaSure Bryant is your host for Stories from Survivors.
Hi, I'm Dr. Danielle LaSure Bryant, Program Director of the Wellness Center here at PGCC. Please welcome our survivors, Amber and Miss Betty.
Hello.
Hello. Hi to each of you today. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
As we begin to discuss domestic violence for October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I wanted to take some time to talk to some survivors and get your take in terms of how we might be able to help other people in the community. So as we do that, just a couple of questions in terms of The first one, how would you say domestic violence has informed your relationships going forward?
Well, with me personally, growing up in a domestic household, I didn't really know what a regular relationship was. To be honest, I still don't. I'm still learning. And I witnessed a lot of beatings, a lot of cussing, a lot of arguments. So I thought that was normal growing up. And as I grew older and started developing my own relationships, I found myself being very manipulative, physically abusive. It really affected me, and it made me feel like I wasn't nothing, or I didn't know anything, or I would never find happiness. So now as I get older, I realize that you can't do that, and nobody deserves that if you love somebody. So I think now it's just focusing on myself and just realizing that that's not normal at all, and it's not good.
Okay, wow, very insightful. Thank you for sharing that. So not only has domestic violence, can it impact our relationships, it can also impact society as a whole. What might you all say to look at policies within our society that might be very helpful in supporting or helping domestic violence survivors?
I figure, in my opinion, the government is doing all they can, by spreading messages on buses and throughout the metro stations, and also like PSAs we see on TV. And it just shows that it's up to the individual. It's up to the individual to want to get help. If they want to stay there, just talk them into, it's not safe, it's not good to be here. You gotta go. And they just have to find their first step. Like, just be there to promote them, And also when you talk to them, like, just keep it a secret, because most of them don't like when you tell, then they'll go back in the shell. So just try to keep it a secret and just try to help from afar.
Okay.
And that's how, and just help them all you can.
That's a very good point, Miss Betty, in terms of being able to reach out to individuals who may not want you to know that they need assistance. And Amber, you alluded to this with how you grew up. You probably didn't want people to know that this was going on in your home.
Yes. Yes, growing up, I dealt with a lot, even outside my mother, my aunts, my uncles, a lot of that. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people within the Black community can relate to that. I'm not saying it's just within the Black community, but it's more normalized. And I feel like there definitely does need to be more laws put into place, especially for people who don't necessarily, they don't tell the truth, or they don't have a way out, and they can't go anywhere. Speaking on as if somebody, especially with women being the abuser with men, I feel like a lot of women lie in those situations. So you should definitely have a law in place to where women also suffer that consequence as well as men. And especially in the LGBTQIA, girls hitting girls, that seems normal for me. It used to be a cool, fun thing to look at, but now I realize that's not normal.
Okay.
So I definitely think it should be a broader and more of a spectrum in terms of who has to deal with it. But other than that, just try to open up and definitely call somebody, a higher authority figure, especially if you have kids.
And I mean, just speaking within my own experience,
yes,
being shot 6 times last year, I was just a proxy of someone that was needing me to go along with them to pick up their son from the husband. And, he just couldn't fathom, or I guess take her leaving him. So you just have to know your boundaries and how to help someone. Like, you can be on the outside, call the police, or, give them some resources to go by, so they don't have to be subject themselves in that position like I did, I was just too much involved in it. Because she was also a classmate, so, we were friends. So being so much involved,
Yes.
you got to learn to step back and watch red flags and listen real carefully how they talk. That's what I missed. She was saying all the symptoms. Everything was there, but just being a friend, I just missed the red flags that she was throwing out.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah, just listen carefully.
So the idea of personal safety, the idea of of having policies in place that help those who might be under the radar, such as those within the LGBTQIA community. These are all ways in which you all are saying society can come together to help survivors.
Yes.
Okay. Well said, well said. I want to close out our survivor segment with a big thank you to each of you for sharing your stories. Thank you, Miss Betty.
Welcome.
Thank you, Amber. Until we meet again, stay safe, and if you see something, say something. Now, back to Katrina.
That was really powerful, Dr. Bryant. We appreciate all that you do. Now let's share a scene from the play Seed by Pamela Gunby Washington.
Now, Nadia, was all that supposed to intimidate me? Because you ain't running nothing around here. So don't let us hold you any longer. You have a good evening. Take care now.
Nadia, just go, please. Okay.
Okay. We had a good time, didn't we? We always do.
I'm glad you did, because it will be your last time.
Michaela, what happened? I just saw Seth leave. What's wrong with him?
Nadia, he tried to kill me. I really thought he was going to do it this time. I'm going to call the police.
I called him already. I knew something was wrong.
Seed looks as though it is a heartfelt and powerful play. Thank you, Pamela, for sharing your work. Because domestic violence has no place in our community, we shine a purple light for anyone who needs help. We remember those who lost their lives. We support our survivors, and we share hope to those still living under domestic violence. So please share this show. Ask someone if they need help. Please report all incidents as soon as you're safe and able. I'm Katrina Oshitelu for Community Voices, Purple Light Nights Edition. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Ashley Sims, a certified victims advocate. If you're in need, here are some resources. National Domestic Violence Hotline, Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence, Prince George's Office of the Sheriff Domestic Violence Unit. If you are in need of 24-hour advocate help, go to 13400 Dilly Drive, located in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, 20772. Prince George's County Police Department Domestic Violence Unit, Community Crisis Service Incorporated, Tia Johnson, PGCC Woman of Wisdom, Dr. Stephanie Pear, Chandrika M. Rennell, Dr. Mikiba Morehead, House of Ruth in Maryland. They have a 24-hour hotline, Prince George's County Family Justice Center, Law Advocacy and Referral Services, Prince George's County Department of Health.
Ayuda, servicios en español. La oficina en Maryland,